Hello, kiddies. It's your old pal, John Kassir, the voice of the Crypt Keeper. And you're listening to The Bottom Shelf.
No, seriously, I'm telling you, if you don't put the icing on the cookies and you add the country gravy on top of them, then it's actually pretty decent.
What the crap? That sounds so gross.
Hey guys, what's up? Hey, I just got a new movie from the dumpster. I think you guys would love to hate. It's Dungeons and Dragons.
What the crap? That sounds gross.
Prepare yourself to discover a world of terrible movies. High above the planet Geekery, a group of intrepid explorers hover over the dangerous planet in their fabulous superorbital spacecraft. Their mission? To conduct a complete analysis of movies known throughout the universe as terrible. So grab your space popcorn, grab your freeze-dried ice cream, and join us for today's mission of discovery and wonder. Are these movies better than the galaxy thinks? Or do they really belong on the bottom shelf?
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another exciting adventure on The Bottom Shelf.
Playing games with strangers.
No. Wrong D&D podcast. But we are a D&D podcast this time, sort of.
No, we're not.
Sort of.
No, we're not. Don't even start. Just because I picked a movie does not make us some D&D bullcrap stuff, okay?
Sir,
What?
we watched D&D bullcrap. We are officially a D&D bullcrap podcast for this episode.
Goodbye. See you later. You guys will watch this by yourselves.
That happy voice is Kevin, otherwise known as That's Our Kevin. Ba-da-ba-ba-da-ba. Sorry, inside jokes are flying all over the place today. And with us as well, we have Dallas.
Hello.
Zamora. But who else is in the studio with us? We have the Admiral.
Hello.
Admiral Celeste.
What's up? Better
Shock and awe. If this sounds a little bit weird, it's because we planned this out except for who's doing the introduction. So I jumped in because nobody was talking. But being as I kind of spoiled a little bit, Kevin, what movie are we covering on this episode?
I have a question. Do you know what do you call a person without a body or a nose?
Nobody knows.
Okay. I'm glad you got someone already told you that. Crap.
What do you call two men with no arms and no legs hanging out over a window?
Curtain rod.
Yep.
We're editing all these out, right?
No!
That one. At least that one.
Why would you edit that one out? That's hilarious. Oh my goodness.
Just because it's funny doesn't mean it needs to be on the podcast.
Oh yeah, we're going for the kindergartens. We're going for preschoolers. Let's listen to this podcast. That's exactly what we're doing. Okay, so as I said when I walked in, we're going to be watching Dungeons and Dragons. It is a movie that was released on the 8th of December in the year of our Lord Y2K. It has a dreadful runtime of 1 hour and 47 minutes. It is rated PG-13 for fantasy action violence, casting one of the 25 Wayans brothers and a dated CGI.
Are there that many Wayans brothers?
There's a lot of
There's
Wayans.
probably more right now. Who knows? Probably as more as any of those Neely Z rapper guys, whatever.
Are there equal Wayans brothers to Jacksons? Because there's more than 5.
Yeah, there's more than 5 Wayans brothers.
Okay. There's more than 5 Jacksons.
The joke. Oh my gosh, you're starting to sound like one of my sisters right now.
Except
Be
I'm doing it on purpose.
Be technical!
There's
Okay.
10 There's 10 siblings for the Wayans.
That's
The Wayans
me,
could take
okay?
out-
I have 9
the
brothers
Wayans
and
could
sisters, okay? So, thanks
The
for
Wayans could take out the Jacksons. But would they look as fabulous as Janet? Sorry, Kevin. Keep going.
So that plastic surgery she gets. Anyhow, this is directed by the first-time director Courtney Solomon that took him a decade to build up the courage to budget and film this movie, but an eternity to be wrecked by dungeon masters everywhere in their parents' basement. It is written by Upper Topper Linian. It is also written by Bruce Being on the Pain and Justin Whalen. It is starring Simba's Uncle Scar, Bruce Still in the Pain, James Whalen, Snails, Robert Miano, Thor Boring Birch, Zoe McLaughable, and Doctor Who number 4.
The best one.
The best.
The best one? Okay.
Yes.
How many Doctor Who's are there? 25?
Not yet.
13?
About as many, there are probably about as
No.
many Doctor Who's as there are Wayne's brothers.
More.
Oh my god. So on this VHS, it says by critics. It says it's visual thrills. It says Liz Braun of the Toronto Suns. That's funny. When I was in Toronto, I've never saw the Sun. It says a special effects extravaganza from Entertainment Today.
What's
Okay. Dungeons and Dragons looked like they threw away the game and photographed the box that came in, says Roger Ebert. Wait a minute, that's not right. What? Okay. You read the back of the VHS, see what this movie's about? Because I think everyone already here knows what Dungeons and Dragons is, except, well, I do, but I don't really care. You read the back of the description?
I'll
what?
read the back. I'll read the back.
You read the back of the VHS?
Yeah, I'll do it. So we do have a tagline. It says, "You'll wish you were in a dungeon being tortured by a dragon." All right. Back of the VHS.
fair.
Is it Sean Connery? Is he the one torturing?
Sean Connery makes a fantastic dragon.
This is true.
Yep.
He
All
would
right.
also make a fantastic dwarf because he's got that Scottish brogue.
All right, so
yeah,
this is what the
because
VHS.
he makes a fantastic, awesome Russian too.
No, amazing Russian.
No. Well,
In honor of Sean Connery, I shall read this box in my best Russian accent.
No.
The forces of
He
evil
also-
have magical powers, and peasants are powerless. Only a ragtag group of young adventurers can save the day. Profioni is the diabolical mage who plots to take over the kingdom of Izmir. The Empress Savannah fights to return peaceful times to her subjects. Now, the hopes of Izmir rest with Snails, Ridley, and the fighters brave enough to help them battle the dark forces of Profion. Dazzling special effects and spellbinding adventures. Our performance conjure up a supernatural film that brings the adventure home to you.
I better be blown away by these special effects in the year 2000.
I just want to know, which Ridley are we talking about? Is this the Ridley with the giant machine and the alien, or is this the Ridley from the Metroid series?
Sir, that
This
was
is-
Ellen Ripley, not Ridley.
Ah,
No, this is the talented Mr. Ridley.
No, again, that's the talented Mr. Ripley.
Let me say my thing I want to say.
Wait. Didn't they have a museum? It was like Ridley's Believe It or Not.
I think so.
That's a thing.
That's Ripley's, believe it or not.
Dang it!
We can't get this for a win.
All our jokes are terrible today, everybody.
So nothing's new.
Daisy
Wow.
Ridley. There we go.
John, is there any trivia for this movie?
There's a bit of trivia, and I think some of it Kevin's going to enjoy, such as when asked why he did this film, Jeremy Irons replied, "Are you kidding? I bought a castle. I had to pay for it somehow."
Oh yes, that is the Jeremy Irons I enjoy.
I respect that answer. I respect that answer.
I bought Nicolas Cage's castle. Someone's gotta buy it.
Director Courtney Solomon. This is director Courtney Solomon's first film. He had acquired the exclusive rights from TSR, which was the original owner of Dungeons and Dragons, back in 1990 when he was 19. It took him 10 years to raise the funds to make the film.
Wow.
And how much of the funds that he raised? What was it, like 30K, 50K, or something like that? No, 30 million.
I'm not sure. I don't have that pulled up in front of me right now, bro.
Okay, I just know it's less than 100 million.
It wouldn't surprise me. He also was only interested in producing the film originally. However, the then TSR head, Lorraine Williams, vetoed every one of his choices for director, one of which was including Francis Ford Coppola,
Wow.
and forced Solomon to direct the film since he held the rights.
Wow.
Don't force me,
Yep.
Mr. Coppola. Don't force.
It wasn't. It was the lady at TSR who forced him. If Francis Ford Coppola, I'm trying to picture what this movie would have been like if Coppola would have done it. That'd be weird. All right.
So he's a weird person. He's probably like somewhere drinking the back of his great vineyard wine. Is like, I just make money off wine. I don't care. Everyone sucks.
Sounds about right. The bones visible in Prophion's lair are real. The scenes where the scenes were filmed in Sedlik, in the Sedlik ossuary, a small chapel in Kutna Hora, Czech Republic. It's decorated with the bones of the people who were buried in the surrounding cemetery, but had to be moved to make room for the chapel and for new burials.
Is that all the bones from the saints from those Catholic churches?
You're talking about relic? No, this is an ossuary, not a reliquary.
Oh, I was like, that would be funny. It's like, yeah, we use the bones of the saints right there.
For my last little point of trivia, during the fight with the large guard before the scene with Snails and Damodar, Justin Whalen's head was split open when he was thrown into a stone wall.
Oh well.
Okay. He was thrown into a stone wall and his head split open. Like how much?
I don't know.
He didn't die.
It's not dead yet.
I have a trivia to add to
Not
it.
yet.
There is there's an extended cut of this, and there's a cameo by D&D co-creator Dave Arneson as a council wizard during the dragon fighting tour towards the end of the movie.
Oh, really?
Yep, but it's in the extended version.
Not aware of. Oh,
it's apparently only on the DVD.
Oh, I don't remember that, but I'll take your word for it. One other thing that I can tell you, I'm trying to find the guy's name here. Bruce Payne, who plays Damodar in this movie. I initially thought I recognized him. I thought he was the dude who played the mummy in The Mummy.
Of course, because everyone thinks he looks like him.
However, he does not. But when I was looking at his filmography, I noticed a trend. Apparently, this guy only is in terrible movies or poorly rated movies. Because everything that I was looking at on his filmography, about 80% of what's on there is 3.5 or lower.
Where's he going through IMDb? Like that sucks. No, that really sucks, and just keeps on going.
Yeah, no, because when you look at on IMDb, when you look at somebody's filmography, it'll show their films and then how it rated on IMDb for.
He did Highlander Endgame.
Oh, we don't talk about that one.
I never watched it, so I can't say a thing about it.
Don't.
Oh, that hurts me.
So yeah, if you see him in
money, does he need to GoFundMe?
It works for Nicolas Cage, so
Nicolas Cage would do almost anything for $100.
Somewhere, Josh Berkey just went, ugh, and he doesn't know why.
If Nicolas Cage will do anything for $100, I'm going to see if I can't interview him for.
You can. He has been known to do interviews just for $25.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Stay tuned, everybody. But let's progress with the actual show because we are getting so sidetracked. Let's talk.
Are you sidetracked on the side quest?
I see what you did there. And I'll give you an A for effort, Kevin. That was proper usage of all of that. But let's talk about spoilers. Yes, lowered expectations. Being as you're the guest this week, Celeste, what are your expectations for this movie?
Dragons. That's it.
What?
Dragons.
That's it? Just dragons?
Dragons. I think saying juggins. I'm like, what's juggins?
Dragons.
Okay, dragons.
As somebody who I know plays D&D at least every other week, I'm a little bit shocked that that's your only expectation for this movie.
You know, you kind of talked it down for years. So I just expect to see dragons and enjoy the dragons.
Well, John does talk himself down, and you know what to expect from that.
I'll have to get some cricket Foley for that joke, bro. That landed like a loud wet fart in the middle of a church service. All right.
Okay.
Well, being as Cranky Boy's got the mic, Kevo, what's your expectations for this movie?
I never saw the movie before.
Nobody has any expectations for this movie. All right.
It's easier to not be disappointed that way.
You would think. Dallas.
Oh, I'm expecting this to be terrible. This movie was so like unthought of that when I worked at Hollywood Video, it actually fell between the shelves and we didn't know about it. And it was just marked off as lost when we did inventory. And then a couple of years later, when we were doing inventory again, we had to move a shelf and there it was. And we're like, what is this? And I was like, that's Dungeons and Dragons.
Well, to be fair, the way those shelves were designed, Hollywood Video, there you could find all kinds of things in there.
Yes.
Did you found money? Yes, we found money. We found electric bills. We found people's electric bills. Like, oh, check this out. At a time before the online service thing.
We found boxes of movies that were stolen. That's about it. So,
yep, seen those.
But nobody stole Dungeons and Dragons. They just said nobody needs to see this ever again. So that's my expectation. Is just I have a feeling this is not going to be a good movie.
My expectations for this movie, I have seen this movie once. It was shortly after it was released on VHS, and I rented it. So that'll tell you how long ago it's been since I've seen this movie.
In the year 2000.
That's when it was. And I will tell you, I don't remember anything about it outside of the fact that it seemed like an incoherent mess at the time, and I didn't understand what was going on the majority of the time.
Were you a D&D player at the time?
I was not.
Okay.
I did not. I didn't actually. No, I take that back. I had played D&D once or twice. I dabbled in it with my bassist at the time.
Okay.
Shout out to Jake Prumers. If you are listening, chances are you aren't, but if you are, hello.
We will send this to you.
But no, as far as my interest in D&D, as everybody knows it now, that started probably about 6 or 7 years ago. So
I'd be curious to see your thoughts on the back end of this, of how they play with the D&D stuff. Just how you and Celeste have interpreted what they're interpreting. Kevin and I are just along for the ride because, I mean,
I'm here for a movie. I'm not here for a freaking game.
We know.
Like the most role play that Kevin knows is when he role plays not killing the customers at Walmart in his head.
I don't care about the customers at Walmart.
Oh, sorry.
He's non-customer facing.
It's the guy driving the forklift in the warehouse.
Oh, one more factoid I want to throw out there before we dive into this movie, because I did check the timelines. This movie was released when the current edition of D&D was 3rd edition.
Oh.
Not 3.5. This is before 3.5. This was 3rd edition.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong. That was a mess of an edition, wasn't it?
3rd edition was okay. The mess was 4th edition.
Oh, okay.
That was the one that almost that one was the one that almost killed Dungeons and Dragons.
And that's when Pathfinder came about.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because Pathfinder rose from 3.5.
Gotcha.
Kevin's just looking like
I don't care.
He's in a math
I don't
class.
care.
I love you, Kevin. You are my favorite part of the show. I want you to know that.
You're our sunshine.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Our favorite sunshine.
All right. Well, let's go ahead.
Play it, Glicks. Let's play the movie, Glicks. Let's do it.
Dear listeners, this is your opportunity to escape. Our crew has just entered into the media projection chamber. What horrors and madness that they consume are unknown. Their mental state upon their return is unknown. You have been warned.
Blue lips! Oh my god!
Maybe it's
Blue lips!
Couldn't tell if that dude was having an asthma attack or if he was just like, the front man for Maybelline.
Can we talk about the quality of the lipstick, though? Like,
I mean,
my dude is spitting, throwing spit, and it's holding. I wore black lipstick to work last week, and I didn't make it through lunch. My man made it through an entire campaign.
Literally, I have a note right here that's like, second in charge looks like he's rocking the super sassy blue raspberry lipstick. So...
He was
It
rocking
looked like
it.
he auditioned for like the Blue Man Group before he came out, and then just forgot to like take off all the lipstick, all the makeup.
No, he
Oh,
was
And everybody-
working on those Flintstones push pops, and he just kept rubbing all around. Against the blue
Yeah.
raspberry.
Oh, okay. Well, let's not spoil it too much, but let's get into our non-spoilery reviews. Can we just talk about the fact that the CGI in this movie looks like it was made for a PS2 game?
Dude,
It was early 2000s.
It was the
Although-
group that did Mortal Kombat, and they came over and helped out with this film.
I
I
will
feel like
The
they
say,
group
did
that
Mortal
did
Kombat Annihilation.
Annihilation. Get out of my head, you weirdo!
I mean, it was. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
I can say at the beginning of this movie, it gave being as we're talking about Mortal Kombat now, it gave me some serious Street Fighter vibes at the very beginning of this movie.
Sorry, I'm good.
Just with how corny some of the line delivery was in this movie, it gave me some serious Street Fighter vibes.
I gotta be that.
What? Nothing was corny that Jeremy Irons said.
That man is nothing
I-
but corny. He is a corn cob who came from Iowa.
He was one of my favorite parts of the movie.
He was
I
legitimately.
mean, some of the line delivery in this movie was like total JCVD on cocaine levels of bad line delivery.
Don't know what you just said. Did you just have a stroke?
Jean-Claude Van Damme.
Oh,
Yeah.
I was reaching back to our Street Fighter episode when we talked about how he was completely blasted on cocaine through the entire
gotcha.
production of that movie.
I
Yeah,
just
that was
heard
a good
all of the initials, and I'm like, I don't recognize any of these acronyms.
Yeah.
So can I just point out that there were dragons, but the dragons in Dragonheart were better, and it was in '96, and this was 4 years later.
Yes.
I was disappointed with the dragons, although
We
they're
talked
still
about the
babies,
fact
and I
that-
still love them.
Like even the blood on the dragon, like was just like it made the cape from Spawn look good.
Oof.
Like it was really, really bad.
It almost made the reviler look good, and you know how badly I hate that character.
I need to watch Spawn again. I haven't seen it for so long.
Oh, I love Spawn.
I enjoy watching it from time to time.
Yeah, last time I saw it was on the telly, and that was like, I don't know, 15 years ago.
I like how we're talking about a different movie.
Good, let's talk about Dungeons and Dragons because there's so much to say about it, right? Because there's nothing. Go ahead.
Spoiler free, the storytelling was rough. Like it felt rushed the entire time through. And I was talking with Celeste, it suffers from the same issue as when you try to summarize a book into a movie, but they took an entire D&D campaign, which we all know never actually ends, and they tried shoving it into a movie.
You know,
It's the same sin that was in Avatar: The Last Airbender.
Thank you.
I don't even know. I don't know what you're talking about. There is no Avatar: The Last Airbender movie. There is no Warren Ba Sing Se.
Just like there's no fatal deviation, but yet that gets brought up.
It's not even.
From the grave.
It's
Honestly, we need to do a rewatch of that because that movie
No.
has gotten better in my mind since we did the show on that. So we might that might be our first rewatch. But I think the reason why we keep getting off track and talking about other movies though is that I think this movie lifts a lot of ideas from other movies.
It doesn't
Like-
even. Sorry, go ahead.
You know what? I agree with you. It takes every idea from every other like medieval magical thing and try to blend as many as they can into this film, and it's just like boom, here you go.
It's not
Like,
even
legitimately,
Like they took a-
Go ahead, Celeste. Sorry.
it's not even like they took a whole campaign and shoved it into one movie. It's like they took somebody who was pitching a campaign and went, "That's the script."
Mm.
Like, not even a lot of details. It almost felt like the cuts and the jumps and things and the discontinuity, is that a word? Discontinuity was happening because like the players went home,
Mm.
which almost would have preferred.
I kept getting Star Wars vibes from this movie, to be perfectly honest. Like there were so many plot points in here. I'm just like, This feels a lot like Star Wars.
A prequel
Like-
of Star Wars.
Like Jeremy Irons is the Emperor, and homeboy Mummy Light was was Darth Vader, and yeah,
Mummy
Just like
Light.
Alien was Luke
Who's Mummy Light?
Skywalker
What?
having a kiss with Marin, Princess Leia. Dang it, that works way too well.
It
And
does.
Marlon
Yeah.
Wayans is Jar Jar Binks.
Mhm.
It works. No, you're throwing Jar Jar into the wrong era of Star Wars. sir.
Prequel Star Wars. That's you know
No,
what?
that's
I
not what he
agree
was
with
talking about. You said that, not John.
Johnson
was so-
Star Wars. I say
That's
prequel
so
Star
great.
Wars.
That's
But
so
John's
great.
talking about Luke and Leia, who were not in the prequel until the third one.
All of it works. All of it works. Like there is so much in this movie that is just like it, even at other points there was other movies like that I got the vibe off of. And I agree, the writing of this felt like it was rushed, and I think that this movie probably could have worked better if it was like a mini series or a TV series. Like this feels like a CW show. I mean, am
Yeah.
I right? Like if this was
more like Fox in the afternoon.
Right, but it would have worked better in a short form format
Yeah.
over extended over a year than as a movie. Like
Agreed.
this should not have been the final draft of this script.
There was a Saban did a TV series back in the late 90s, early 2000s. It was like the Knights of the Mystic Force or something like that.
Mhm.
It was a better D&D than this.
Oh,
Nice. I think one of the other things that I noticed, and this is probably going to be the longest spoiler-free section that we've ever done, but I have so much I can talk about that's not specific to the movie plot points. But I think another one of the things that made this movie hard for people to get into, as was my experience, is that a lot of the scripting, I think, was written from the perspective of the people who are watching this movie are already familiar with Dungeons and Dragons tropes.
yeah. I'd agree with that.
Yeah, I felt like there were some tropes in there that only a true D&D person would have understood because
I
they
was
said
hoping-
certain things. I'm like, okay, I don't play D&D. I've only did it for like a month back,
Right.
a long time ago, and I caught some of the references. Okay, that's nice. They didn't like shove it too much in your face,
Mm-hmm.
but it just was mishandled tremendously.
Honestly, I was
Absolutely.
hoping there were that was the case because I was so lost there in so much of the movie. I was hoping that perhaps Celeste was catching more than me simply because she understood more D&D than I do.
It's at one point Dallas and I were talking, and part of the issue is that this one was leaning too hard into being comedic.
Yeah.
And it would have done better to either been a spoof or been serious. It didn't
Yeah.
do the balance of the two well.
This was the worst script they could have came up for this movie. If I were to put it in D&D terms, this was a case of a bad DM with clever players.
I'll give you that.
Was the audio really low for anybody else? Like when we were watching it, we had our
Oh.
sound bar turned up to like 50 just to hear the vocabulary.
Sound was perfectly fine with me.
Mm.
You might need to redo your sounding systems.
But it was maybe it just because you were watching on Amazon Prime.
Amazon's always a little quieter for us, though.
Kevo was watching it on Amazon.
Yes.
I don't know because when we watched something later and it was like blowing me out.
Blaring.
Weird. Does anybody have any other spoiler-free thoughts to talk about?
No,
All right. Well, let's hit the spoiler section then.
roll for initiative.
Ladies and gentlemen, the spoiler section. Dang it, I rolled a 5.
It is so weird to hear Celeste say that, but be looking at her and she's saying nothing.
I'm going to say that my favorite scene was Tom Baker.
Yes.
Okay, so I don't know who Tom Baker is. I know he is a doctor, but I've never seen
It
him.
was the best scene in the movie. You can't you
He's
can tell when the acting really happens.
Kevin,
Yes.
Shush. Shush. The scene
right.
with the elves. Agreed, he's right, but he needs to shush for the moment. The
Okay, fine.
Scene
I'll
with
shush. Okay, Mom. I'll be quiet. I won't say anything.
I can't mute him. I don't have that control. So the the
Welcome
scene
to the Kevin experience.
where the elves are healing up the guy who looks like he's part of
Jimmy Olsen,
Mbop. Yeah.
Justin
Hanson. He
Whalen.
looks like he's part of Hanson. I had to think about the name of the band. And he's explaining things, and then he's doing stuff with his hands, and he's like, elves don't use spells. We just heal from ourselves because we are all part of the circle of life. That guy was Tom Baker. Okay. Sorry, Kevin. Keep going.
Him and
No, you're
Jeremy
fine.
Irons were the
I
only
would-
two good actors in the whole film.
Yes.
Wait, who was the other one you said?
Jeremy
Jeremy
Irons. And
Oh,
Tom
Jeremy
Baker.
God,
Irons.
yes.
And
Jeremy
Jim-
Irons
Yes.
was not good in this movie.
He was
Jeremy-
at
fucking
all.
phenomenal. He was
He was
fantastic.
one of the best parts of the movie.
He brought
Jeremy,
the entertainment to it, the movie.
Jeremy Irons' eyebrows were great in the movie too.
I'm not saying the script was good for him, but he was phenomenal
He was
with what
having
he was
fun with
given. He was
No,
given
he was-
trash, and he said he was given a turd, and he polished it, and it was fun. He's like,
He-
this is gonna be terrible. Let's have fun with it.
He overacted this movie so bad.
When does he not overact in
Yes,
anything?
he knew he had a terrible script when he did Scar. That was perfect. That was not overacting.
He
Scar
had to
was
pay for a
dramatic
castle.
statement.
He had to go big or go home, okay?
I wish he would have gone home. That
Well, maybe you should try to lord over the land. It's like-
I mean, okay, and the other thing about Jeremy Irons that took me out of this movie, other than his overacting, was the fact that his perfectly coiffed, modern style haircut just felt so out of place in this movie. It looked like he got out of a
And
hair
Ridley's didn't.
to a lesser degree than Jeremy Irons.
Jeremy
Jeremy
looks like he
Irons,
came out of a supercut.
dude.
He still
Jeremy,
had the same haircut as Jimmy Olsen when he was on Superman.
bro.
the haircut was one thing out of place. Yes, you're right. It was only Jeremy's Irons haircut. Nothing else in this movie was out of place but the haircut. You're
And the
perfectly
eyebrows.
100% right, John.
No one has manicured eyebrows like that in TNT.
Those were eyebrows. I thought they were caterpillars.
Yes.
They needed to come to Jacksonville. We have spots dedicated for people to do eyebrows.
So does
Eyebrows are on
everybody.
fleek.
No, not like here.
But yeah, I agree. His acting wasn't good, but at least it was entertaining. He came on the screen and I was like, oh look, it's Scar.
Mm.
Everybody else came on the screen and I'm like, is this done yet?
I
don't
want
know.
to put this out. I think Domindor, he has fantastic ability of contorting his face.
Oh yes. His facial
his
expression.
face was very expressive. It was awkward as all get out the entire time, but he was very expressive the entire time.
Just
with
like
his
the way he puckered his lips, like, you will listen to me
Well,
as
he-
I talk to
Well, he
you.
was-
I'm like,
He had
he
the
was-
fabulous lipstick.
I was about to say he was just rocking the Maybelline product placement. Is all he was doing.
How much did Maybelline pay for that ad?
I don't know, man.
Not enough.
I was just gonna say that.
Because I mean, legitimately, I'm going, how did they get that color on his lips? Like, how did you do that?
All right, and then at the beginning of this movie, when he opens the chamber to that dragon to try to control him with that one rod that he made himself,
Right.
Poor
One-
baby.
that thing was one of the most cartoony. Like if that dragon got any more cartoony, it would have looked like Puff the Magic Dragon.
I was about
All
to
right,
say the same thing. Why are you in my head, John?
this second time tonight. And then the other part about it is that dragon changed color at least 3 times.
Oh yeah. Why did that dragon's blood catch on fire, but then other dragons are falling on spears and the whole town's not on fire? Did we run out of budget?
that
What
was a
happened here?
Japanese dragon, that's why.
No,
It was a Japanese dragon. It was made from
wasn't.
atomic energy.
It wasn't even technically a dragon. It was a T-Rex with wings.
Who cares? It's all
I
freaking dumb.
care.
It's there. It was dumb. It was stupid. It was stupid CGI. It was stupid fake blood.
Like, I can take bad CGI. I like Dragonheart, for God's sake. Most of those movies. it's not that I can give allowance for CGI being bad in an era where they were experimenting and exploring CGI and figuring out how to use it and what they could and couldn't do. I get that. But it was so bad.
And then the whole dragon lore in this movie, it does not.
What was the purpose of the dragons in this movie, anyways? I did not know what the purpose of the dragons were.
Okay,
Just to fly around.
In Dungeons and Dragons, like if you encounter a dragon, you may as well stick your head between your legs and kiss your butt goodbye.
Okay, I'm talking about the movie. What's the purpose of the dragons in this movie?
I'm getting to that.
You're talking about a game. I want to talk about the movie. What's the purpose of the dragons in this movie?
I'm trying to get there, butthole. Anyway,
go ahead.
I'm trying to. If I hand you a potato, will it fill your mouth?
Depends on the size of the potato.
All right. So anyway, so in this movie, the big deal about the dragons is because this movie is based off of the game, and dragons are supposed to be a big deal. Like they are the ultimate killing machines. The problem is they don't get the lore right to match up with the game because they dropped a door on this dragon in the beginning and it killed the dragon. No. Dragons have
baby dragon.
Dragons have like 300 on average, 300 hit points. That door would have just kind of went bank and just made him mad. Like, and this is another Star Wars point in Star Wars that it was just like, what is this, the thing down in the basement of Jabba the Hutt's lair now? Going to drop a door on him and all of a sudden it's like, yeah.
Well, speaking of the dragons, like, what was the point of the red dragons outside of the fact that it was like, oh, hey, go get the power to control these red dragons, but don't use them. Destroy it immediately.
Yeah.
Like it was an absolute mute point for the entirety of the film. Like the entire.
Thank you, Dallas, for explaining that, because I'm just trying to get what's the point of the dragons, and he still can't answer. He's talking about the game. I was like, let's stop talking about the game. Let's talk about the movie.
I have to talk about the game because the
we need to talk about the movie.
But because the movie is based on the game.
But the movie is displaying the story through pictures. It didn't show nothing. That's the thing. The movie didn't explain nothing about the dragons. It didn't show nothing about the dragons.
That's the point I'm making, is that they would use the lore as long as it suited them, but the moment it didn't, they would throw it out the window. So they were completely inconsistent with the storytelling when it came to the dragons.
Wow, you could have said that previously, but now you finally said it.
He was trying to.
Thank you.
He was trying to say it.
Well, yeah, I was trying to give you the reasons why it was inconsistent, not just to say it was inconsistent and just leave it at that.
It was rough either way. Like nothing made sense with the dragons, like you were saying, John. Like they pulled lore for comedic events at moments, and then all of a sudden it was just like, I don't know, let's just do stuffs.
Yeah, it's like when they were gonna go try to steal the scroll back from maybe it's Maybelline's camp of soldiers, and they're like, look out, there's some beholders there, and it's just like, it was cool to see. It was cool to see a beholder, but they didn't explain why a beholder is a big deal. Or
at least they got the beholder right. Like, it's still bad early 2000s CGI, but it looked better than the dragon.
Yeah, but why should they be scared of a beholder? They don't get into it.
Nothing.
It's just like it didn't serve the movie at all. It was complete fan service as far as we have to put a beholder in here because this is a D&D movie.
It's almost like you said this earlier, they expect you to know things. And if you come into this, there's absolutely no world building. There's no anything to explain what's happening. Your first introduction is Jeremy Irons maniacally laughing, and you don't know why.
Oh, and then after you find out things came out of those ears and those little whatever.
I didn't like that.
I was like, that was the dumbest thing. I laughed every single time that happened. Every time those little tremors came out of his ears, it went onto the woman's ears, and I busted my gut laughing.
That was Tremors. That's the next Tremors movie. Tremors, the prequel.
Tremors 9. They're coming for you, Jamie Kennedy. They're coming again.
Oh my gosh, I don't really have anything else to talk about with this film. Like,
you didn't like the humor. You didn't like the CGI. We can make fun of for days of his blue lipstick. Jeremy Irons' laughter is just top notch.
A lot of the cast was wasted in this movie.
Mm.
Yeah.
I mean, they focused so much on what's his face, Ridley, that
so boring.
it's just like I want to know about
boring.
I want to know about the dwarf instead of Blandy McPasty face.
Like I didn't, like the dwarf was so like he's like, oh, a dwarf, and like it was just there and it was gone. Like he was just a comedic effect. Like so much of it just didn't work.
I want to know about
where they ran down the freaking alleyway and they all jumped into this big salad mix.
Again,
why?
Star Wars.
I would love to know more.
Okay, yeah. They all ran to the salad mix. I'm sorry, what you said, Celeste?
Love to know more about the elf and her tracking because she was having none of their crap, and I appreciated it because I was going to say
she would have an interesting story, and it's like, no, nothing. We're not going to say anything about her. It's like, dude, it kind of sounds like they're interesting. I want to know more about the elves, and nothing.
Actually, if you want to know who I was most interested in, that they completely just kicked to the wayside, and I can't find the dude's name. It might be Richard O'Brien.
Was it the guy when they all came inside that castle and he's like, I don't let people come inside here stealing my stuff or something?
There was the guy in charge of the Thieves Guild.
The white guy. The
white
guy.
The Thieves Guild.
That guy was fantastic. Like, he acted his butt off. I'm like, yes. Go ahead, Celeste. I'm sorry. I stomped all over you.
No. You're okay because I stopped because I was typing and I can't type and talk at the same time. Because now I'm trying to figure out who that was. But, like, that guy... I would have loved a story about the Thieves Guild, about that guy. Like, that was intriguing to me. The rest of it, meh. It was almost like it was like, you know how in some movies they have a serious storyline and then they have like a running gag?
Mm-hmm.
It almost feels like we were watching the running gag.
Mm-hmm.
At least you got a love story.
No. I don't.
You don't want a love story?
The love story.
That thing was
Everybody wants a good love story.
Wait, I have a statement about the love story. I don't say this about many things because there's not many things that honestly could be worse than this, but Twilight was a better love story than this.
They both sucked. They both sucked.
If that love story was any more ham-fisted, honestly, we could serve it for Christmas dinner.
True. Hey, John, I want to confirm that was Richard O'Brien.
All right. But yeah, that guy was fantastic. Like, I wanted a whole movie of just that character. But,
Snails, not snails. Snails had to die. Oh my God. Who cares?
I mean,
I did. I needed him to die, so he'd shut up.
Yes. Jar Jar Binks, please shut up.
I wanted Justin Whalen's character to die. He was awful throughout the whole entire movie. Blandy McPasty face is all he was throughout the whole movie. It's just honestly, they could have replaced him with Justin Taylor Thomas in this movie.
Jonathan Taylor Thomas.
Jonathan Taylor Thomas.
Yeah, sorry.
Wrong white kid. Get it right.
You just mixed a couple white kids together.
Yeah, well, the problem is that they probably all had the same haircut and are completely interchangeable with absolutely no repercussions. Like, so not great. Yeah. And yet, at the end of the day, I was still slightly entertained by this movie.
I just like the part after they killed his so-called best friends. Like, okay, let's make out. Like, perfect timing.
Right? They got done fighting about their prejudices, and then they were like, okay, now I'm gonna find out what your molars taste like.
Now that we do what every movie did in the 80s, 90s, and 2000s, let's kill off the first black guy, and then okay, now we can continue on with this movie. I'm like, wow.
I know.
Oh my God, so horrible. You know, as much as I give crap out Deep Blue Sea, I'm so happy for certain choices they made in Deep Blue Sea.
I mean... So anyway, does anybody have any other spoiler thoughts to say about this movie?
Dallas has loads of them. He's so concentrating as he's writing down notes.
I'm just looking at Justin Whalen's IMDb, and this poor dude, like, the highlight of his career was legitimately
this movie?
Lois and Clark, The New Adventure of Superman. That was the highlight of his career.
Oh no.
and then
That's
it went
sad.
down here from here.
Well, no. He played Andy in Child's Play 3.
It went
That's not
downhill
saying very much, man. that's
Eh,
that's child's play. No, I don't know how that series ever continues. I really don't.
because people pay money.
People pay money for almost anything.
So, John, that was before he played Jimmy Olsen.
Oh, okay.
Jimmy Olsen was 1994 to 97, and it was 66 episodes. Like he was, and it was. I remember him as an actor and a character in that, and it was a good. He played a good Jimmy Olsen. He played a good sidekick for that particular show. But I mean, literally, his career just plummets after that, and that's one of the sad things about the entirety of the film that I'm looking at is the majority of these actors just don't do anything. Like Jeremy Irons is the top bill actor
Uh-huh.
for the entire. Him and Baker are the top bill actors of the entirety of the show.
Thora
that was
Birch
the
has
question to
done
ask.
quite a
Go ahead.
bit.
In this movie, when it began, did I blink too hard or too fast? I didn't see any credits. I seen no titles, no nothing.
I didn't
No.
either.
Because there weren't any. They just
Were
did the
they
title.
ashamed?
They did the title screen, and that was it.
That was
I didn't even see the title screen. I must have,
They-
like I said, I must have blinked too fast or something because I was right there watching. I rewinded it and I was thinking like, wait, did I miss the title screen or something?
Yeah, well, you missed the title screen, but there was no credits at the beginning of the movie, and that was par for the course for this movie because in the actual previews that they ran for this movie, they didn't name off any of the actors in the previews for this movie. Either.
Wait, none of the actors, not even Jeremy Irons, no one.
Mm-mm, no one.
Were they that ashamed already?
I don't know. It's just that's
Goodness alive, that's not a good sign.
no.
Already.
So, just to circle back to what Dallas was saying about the actors, Thora Birch, who played the Empress, has worked
Yeah.
a lot and consistently. She was in Hocus Pocus. She was in several different things.
Alaska,
She actually has
Like-
something coming out soon that's in post production, according
that
to
Goose
IMDb.
Canadian movie, Fly Away Home with Jeff Daniels.
I didn't see that, but she was in The Walking Dead more recently. So several things. So at least she didn't let this keep her down. Not saying it was her finest work, just
The one movie I remember her for was Ghost World because I liked Ghost World at the time.
I remember that one.
she was in a movie called, at least she looks like a character who was in a movie called Now and Then.
Uh-huh.
Which
Oh yeah,
is-
that's the one. Like almost every female actress at the time that was big.
I don't know because I watched it on TV.
Okay, I just remember it
So-
was like in the late '90s, and it was like every known female actresses in that movie, just like Fried Green Tomatoes when everyone was in that movie.
Yeah, I
It
think
was-
this movie also tanked the career of Richard O'Brien because after this movie, I'm not seeing a whole lot worth noting.
Maybe he just decided just to not act after that. You're like, you know what?
I
I'm good.
mean, Homeboy was kind of a big deal because he was in the Rocky Horror Picture Show.
I'm not old enough for that movie yet.
I don't care about that movie.
Let's do the time warp again.
That director is all over Jacksonville, like every con, and I see him posting. And it's like I'm never going to watch that movie because I don't care. I think I've seen bits and pieces. Like, yeah, that's definitely not a movie I'm going to watch. There's just certain movies you just know you're not going to watch.
I've seen
I
it
think
a
this is-
couple times.
I think this is one of those movies I told someone I'm never going to watch, and yet here I am, bloody well watching it.
All right. Well, let's get to our ratings. Let's put this episode out of its misery, out of Kevin's misery, and get on. Yeet on down. Ease on down the road.
Did you just
That's
say
a good
yeet
movie.
on down the road?
Yes, yeet on down the road.
Turn your
Aretha
head.
Franklin and Michael Jackson are born in the modern day.
All right. So, Dallas, why don't you explain the rating system to the listeners out there?
Yeah, so our rating system is pretty simple. Basically, you have top shelf. This is where you put the movies that are, this is good. Why are people complaining? This is a great movie. We like this. We love this movie. You have middle shelf, like, okay, I can kind of see why people dislike this movie, but I mean, some people could like it. It's not bad. Bottom shelf is, oh yeah, this is terrible, but it's, we're not gonna, we hold on to it. It's a bad movie. We all understand that. And then you have the dumpster fire, where movies go to die. That nobody should ever see these movies ever again. And to our knowledge, no movie has ever been in the dumpster fire. Although legend speaks of movies such as some Irish kung fu film, Speaking from the Grave. We're not sure why.
Or a movie about a last airbender.
Yeah,
There is no war in Ba Sing Se.
there was a lot of wind in that one though. So
Hot air mostly.
let's get into this rating. I'm starting off the rating today.
Go for it, Dallas.
I've
All right, Dallas, go for it. Do it,
formed
man.
a rating party, and to use the terminology of John and Celeste, this thing did not roll a nat 1 and end up the dumpster fire. However, it's not a good movie, and I'm gonna put it squarely on the bottom shelf. It's a terrible movie. It was confusing at times, not because it was complex, but just because it jumped around way too much. The forced comedy was killing me the entire time, and as fun as Jeremy Irons laughing was, and as awesome as it is to see Mr. Sir Tom Baker, it's just not worth watching again. And I kind of regret renting it. I feel like I need to pay my sister more money for the fact that she rented it for us.
All right. Well, I'm going to jump in second on this one because I have things to say and I don't want to be outvoted before I say it. I'm giving this movie 2 different ratings because there's a caveat to my rating.
Oh, okay.
Don't do that here at the bottom shelf. We already agreed to that before. We don't do 2 different ratings. We're doing 1.
All right. Then I'll have to do it from my own perspective. I will say that this movie, the acting in it is overacted. The pacing in it is inconsistent. The effects in it aren't very special, but I still found myself enjoying it on some level.
Really?
And I think a lot of that comes from the fact that I understand Dungeons and Dragons, so I get a lot of the tropes that I think went over non-Dungeons and Dragons people's heads.
Mm-hmm.
I was going to give it a bottom shelf for people who don't, but if I have to grade it myself from my own experience, I would put it on the middle shelf because I could see myself pulling this one out again probably next year sometime and putting it on a lazy Saturday where I just want to turn my brain off and have something on and eat popcorn.
The level of turning your brain off that you would have to do for this film, John, would mean that you were officially a vegetable.
Sir, I live in Washington State. I can make that happen.
Touche.
Celeste or Kevin, who wants to go?
Bottom shelf. No explanation.
No explanation, just bottom shelf.
All right, it's just not good.
She said off with its head.
All right. Fair enough, Kevo.
Bottom shelf.
No dumpster fire from you.
No, because Jeremy Irons made me laugh my butt off.
You should probably go get that.
Jeremy Irons made me laugh.
That's how he's losing weight.
I laughed. I did.
He's on the Irons routine. Plugs in about 20 minutes of Jeremy Irons every day.
The part where I say I laughed my butt off, I actually have no butt because I laughed so much. Okay. Did you not get?
You should go get that.
Yeah. This movie was far more hilarious than Cooties, which actually had jokes.
It was definitely less gross.
Yeah, including the ear thing.
No, that was no. If I could take just one section of the movie, it would be to take that and burn it.
Okay, I need to explore this, Celeste. What was it about that section that is making your skin crawl so bad? Because for the people at home, who don't understand what I'm talking about, every time someone brings up that section whenever someone brings up that part of the movie, Celeste looks like she's going to crawl out of her chair
because things are coming out of holes that shouldn't be. Okay, that's why.
No, it gets into personal history. I have personal bad experience with things in my ear.
Oh.
From a very young age.
She had tubes.
I had 5 sets of tubes before I was 2. And my very first memory is of someone pulling out an infected tube. I was 6 months old. Don't ask me why I remember this, but I do. And it was painful and it hurt. And now anything like wearing earbuds took me a while to get to the point of where I could do that, like inner ear stuff. Because I was like, I don't like it. I still prefer to wear over-the-ear headphones.
Oh, same here. I agree with you. I don't really care so much for it in the ear because I'm always I always have that not fear, but that I guess kind of fear that the rubber part might break off and get inside my ear, and I'm like, oh crap, this is going to cost a lot of money for me to get it taken out.
I had a friend that happened to him once, but it was foam, and it fell into his ear.
Even
And we
worse.
had to go get tweezers at the ER to pull it out.
Mm-mm. So anything to do with ears automatically makes me go, I don't like it.
Okay, so ears for you are like eyes for me, then, is what I'm hearing.
Probably.
You never
Sticky
ate a
eyes.
pig ear, did you?
I'm sorry. That's a dog toy, Kevin.
No, there's crispy pig ear salads. That's
Yes.
the thing.
Obviously, none of you have been to Mexico. I have. They serve them right up, deep fried.
I have, but I also didn't ask questions about what I was eating.
So you very well may have had a pig ear at one point.
You might even had dog.
You ever see a cow in Mexico?
Nope.
This is going off the rails. Shall we wrap this up?
Let's go on over to the weak connection section.
This is a weak connection.
Welcome, everybody, to the weak connections portion of this episode, where we try to extract some sort of spiritual truth from the movie that we have just watched. Dallas, do you have a weak connection for this movie? I know you
do have one.
Awesome.
So mine is based around the scene of Tom Baker, and he's talking about they're in awe of him because they're doing this great magic, and he says, "Look, you guys, you use magic, but we're part of it." And it's talking about this like distinction between using something and being one with something. And my weak connection aspect is there is a difference between acting like a Christian and being a Christian. There's a lot of people out there who treat Christianity like it's some sort of like new age behavioral management system. And it's just like, well, we're just changing our habits. It's not what that's like. Christianity, yes, our habits do change, but it's an inner being aspect also. Like it's we as individuals, we adjust, we change, and we become a different person, if you will. That doesn't mean all of a sudden our personality is different, everything like that. But it does mean that our speech changes, the way that we think, the way we see the world, the way we view people. It does change, and it changes the manner of seeing people, not just as individuals, but as children of God, as sons and daughters of God who, need his grace just as much as we needed his grace. And so my encouragement is, examine yourself. Are you being a Christian, or have you just been acting like a Christian? And because when you just act like a Christian, it's very easy to just stop. But whereas when you are being a Christian, when you're convicted by the Holy Spirit of your relationship with God, you don't just stop that. In fact, when you do things that step outside of the identity, you are grieved, and you make steps to walk back into the identity. So that's my weak connection.
Celeste, do you have a weak connection?
I do not.
And I know Kevin said that he does not. So I will do my weak connection, which is rooted in Ephesians, I think. Yes. No, sorry. Colossians 3:11, which says, "Here there is not Greek and Jew, circumcised and uncircumcised, barbarian, Scythian, slave, free, but Christ is all and in all." One of the core plot points in this movie was the Empress's desire that all people should be equal under the law, whereas the current society within the empire was set up that mages were elite citizens and all else were beneath them and essentially considered as slaves. And the Empress desired to change that. And Jeremy Irons' character, in a very overacty way, was striving to maintain the status quo. As a result, there's a lot of classist ideals that are being bandied about, much in the same way that during the time of the early church, the Jews felt like they were the religious elite, and they were basically gatekeeping at the gates of heaven, so to speak, where, you know, it's just us four, no more, shut the door, as Alistair Begg would say. Whereas Paul makes the distinction in Third Colossians, like, you know, it doesn't matter if you're a Jew or a Greek or a barbarian, or if you're circumcised or uncircumcised. The only matter is, you know, Christ. You know,
Right.
He started Gatorade's initial slogan, you know, except for Christ, which is it in you? And is Christ in you? So, you know, and that's kind of where what I got out of it when I was watching this movie. And it stood out to me. It's just like, you know what, there was a certain amount of religious elitism when it came to the early church. And
yeah, totally.
Sorry, we got some jokers who are doing some stuff on camera here while I'm trying to deliver this, and it's completely throwing me every single time.
I'm so sorry.
Couldn't tell.
So I guess that's it, because my train of thought has been thoroughly derailed by Pastor Dallas, who thought it was more fun to poke fun at Kevin than hear the word of God. So
you can do both.
I'm teasing.
Yeah. I did like your devotion, though. I thought that was a good one. There is a level of, I think that's one of the biggest sins of the church, is a level of, we've allowed religious elitism to step in between us and actually expressing Christ at times.
Right.
And that's dangerous. Not saying that some people, they accuse Christians in church of being elitist when it's simply presenting truth. There is a difference between presenting truth and being a elitist jerk. And that's the balance we have to maintain.
Right. So cool. Well, let's go ahead and land this ship, shall we?
Yes.
So you know what? Let's go ahead and skip the verbal "where you at," because quite frankly, everybody knows we're going to put it in the show notes, and all we're doing is wasting time at the end. So check the show notes for this episode below. The majority of anything I would say is going to be something that Dallas is going to say anyway, and if not Dallas, then Celeste.
True.
So, and of course, we all know Kevin's on the YouTubes with the Dapper Man with his hotness.
I actually took down a channel.
Oh, you did?
Don't care about anymore.
Oh.
Actually, no, it's still there.
It still has amazing meme names.
Yeah, which nobody shares. I was like, man, this meme makes me dead. I'm laughing. This is the best meme ever. It doesn't share a single thing. It's like, yep. That's not helping. Go ahead. Don't share. Just like don't share the word of God. Just don't share nothing. Keep it all to yourself.
Commenting does help the algorithm, Kevin.
It does.
That's what I get for trying to be supportive. Cool. All right. And with that, we want to thank everybody for listening to the show. Please like, rate, and subscribe on whatever platform you're listening on, as that does help put us in front of like-minded individuals like yourself. And we will even accept just regular comments, because we enjoy seeing what people have to say about our show.
Because that makes you a true Christian.
And if you want to...
Geek Devotions does not support the statements of Kevin.
Geek Devotions never supports the statements of Kevin. That's why Kevin keeps quiet.
He does?
Except for a movie review. That's the only part I care about.
All right. Well, and if you... I'm just going to land this. Thanks for listening, everybody. Peace and love, I guess.
Yeah,
love
roll that 12.
One of the two.
Stay devoted.
Peace and love. There we go.